Let's uncover the secrets behind a career with purpose.
Join us as we speak to people that turn their biggest passions into their life's work.
I love it. And inspire you to become the superhero of your own story. Today's guest is Alexandra Kick, an entrepreneur, a speaker, an advocate for gender equity and climate justice, and a co-founder of Thinkubator, a think tank that promotes circular economy principles. Welcome, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
We always start the podcast with one question that we feel is a little bit more left field before we get into all the, deep topics. What is one thing that brings you energy at the moment outside of work?
Outside of work?
Yeah.
Yes.
Spending time in the sun. I think the winter was long.
Yeah.
Or, the spring wasn't as sunny as it should have been. Yeah. So I feel like I'm really longing for sun. And that gives me a lot of energy.
Yeah, it still feels kind of long, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now we're kind of there.
Slowly. So, as I mentioned, you are a founder, you are an inspiring speaker, a thought leader, and a lot of young people generally want to do something like meaningful, but they do not know where to start. What was your experience like? Like what you do right now, is this something that you wanted to do as a child? What was your steps that you took that led to where you are right now?
Okay, I will cut a very long story into a bit of a shorter story because there's lots to tell about this. But basically, no, I did not know that I would want to be doing this, what I'm doing earlier or when I was younger. On the one hand side, for me, being an entrepreneur was never really on the table. So it was not part of my school education or, the formal education, as you would call it. So I never really had it on my mind. And it also took me quite a while to understand that sustainability is the topic that I want to work on because it became one of my values, basically. But it still took me another year or so to understand that this can also be my theme of working and of how to put mission into what I'm doing. So I started off at the University of Economics and Business in Vienna. I grew up in Bavaria, so in a rural area. Not a lot of entrepreneurship going on there.
Yeah, how about your family? Was it like, did you grow up in the entrepreneurial spirited family or?
Actually,
what
yes.
Was your experience?
Okay.
Yes, I did. Both of my parents are self-employed, but not like in a startup context, right? But it's then like being self-employed as in working in the finance sector on a self-employed basis. Yeah. So yes, it was entrepreneurial, but then again, not really. Or in a more traditional conservative way, as you could call it. So startups or entrepreneurship as such was never really present. And then studying business and economics and socioeconomics, actually, the value of sustainability formed more and more. There were a couple of organizations I joined on a voluntary basis. And then at some point it made click and I was like, I can be a sustainability manager. I can be part of transforming this economy into the direction that it should be going to operate within planetary boundaries. And then it took another period of time to understand that basically working in huge organizations, in ministries, in venture capital firms, in an SME is not what makes me happy. Because even if the topic was what I wanted to work in and work for, it did not work for me because the organization was too big, because I felt so powerless or so, caught within these structures.
Restrained.
Restrained. So whatever you wanted to do, it was not possible because, 7 people above you would need to approve. So, I really didn't enjoy that. And understanding that it was about the organizational structure or the size was not so clear in the beginning for me because nobody tells you that maybe you don't like the work you're doing because of the size of nobody tells you that. No. So it's just find a career. Okay, what does that mean? Yeah.
What are the planetary boundaries? When you say keeping within the planetary boundaries?
The planetary boundaries is a framework that has been developed in Stockholm at the Resilience Center, and it's basically about the different aspects, not only climate crisis, so climate is one of the planetary boundaries, but we also have, for example, life below water, life. So ocean acidification is one of the planetary boundaries. You can go on into the atmosphere. You can say the content of nitrous oxides and so on and so forth. So there are several planetary boundaries, and still a lot of them are not measured or measurable. So there's a lot of question marks. But of those we know that we have surpassed a lot of the safe operating spaces, you could call it. With climate, we know. With biodiversity, we kind of know. With different planetary boundaries, we have different knowledge levels and different measurement levels. So it's evolving. But since 2015 or you can look at the graphs showing the development from 2015 until now, and it shows really clearly that we have surpassed a lot of them. Only one has gotten better. Do you have a guess on which that is?
Circularity. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, that would be great. No, it's
that's not a planetary boundary, right? So
ozone.
Ozone, really?
Yeah, because of the Montreal Protocol, we managed to collaborate as a global economy and control the ozone levels.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were your first interactions with sustainability? Like when did you get kind of educated on the topic? When did you first learn about it?
It was a student association that I joined. It was back then, it was called Student Impact Initiative, I think, or Prime Movers. I don't know. They rebranded a lot of times.
Yeah.
So I joined there. I met a couple of really cool people. I dropped out quite fast again because there was so many other things to do. But that's where my interest in the topic really deepened and started.
And how old were you at the time?
19, 18.
Okay.
I think 18. Yeah. So there it all started. Then I started seeing, okay, that's crazy how many resources we need to use to feed an omnivore compared to a vegetarian, compared to a vegan person. It's crazy how much water is being used to produce this and that and that. So I got really deep into researching what it all means before it is on the shelf to buy it.
Okay. So sort of that sensitization towards you as a person and kind of the things you consume, the way you travel, all of these different things, kind of how they have an impact on society and on the environment. Yeah,
it's something you never really learn, that there's a lot, or like a huge backpack of things that a product carries along with it when it's in the shelf.
Got you.
On the shelf.
And was there already kind of an inclination towards being interested in like environmental topics when you were younger? Were you already kind of invested in this? Like, you know, the kind of person that maybe is in love with animals or who just loves spending time in nature? Like what was, especially if you're coming from a smaller town, like what was your relationship to, you know, the land and the environment at the time?
I wouldn't say so, no.
Okay.
I think my two biggest passions when I was growing up was languages and acting. So I was really in that space. Yeah. And well, I think I left when I was 17 for 6 months of language courses. So I graduated and then I moved to study English and Spanish abroad. And only when I can come back, it was that I really appreciated the mountains, the nature, and so on. Because I spent half a year in like big cities, and that's where I saw in San Francisco and Barcelona.
Crazy.
Yeah, and then I came back and I saw, oh wow, this is
my country is so green.
Yeah, and so it gives you a lot of energy being in nature, I think, or at least for me.
Definitely.
And then like after your graduation, it happened, like when did you actually founded Thinkubator? Like how did it happen? Was it straight after your graduation, after university, or did you take some time to decide what you want to do? How was that process happening?
It was still in the middle of studies. So the timing was really... I think it was a perfect timing because my semester abroad got canceled because of COVID. So I was sitting there basically knowing that either I have to cancel my semester abroad, which was why I kept being motivated to finish this degree in the first place. So it was a huge emotional topic for me. I will go abroad with this study program That was the main motivation why I signed up. So I really didn't want to cancel it.
Yeah.
But then to postpone it, I didn't have enough things that I still needed to complete in university. So I had to either work one semester and study the other and then like move it for 1 year, or do part-time work, part-time courses, and then go 1 year later. So here I was looking for jobs, part-time jobs on LinkedIn. And it was so shitty. Imagine you think about going for your semester abroad to Latin America, and then you're like looking for part-time jobs. It was just, no,
social
didn't
media
work.
content creator.
Exactly. No, so it was really, really, really bad.
Crazy.
And in that moment in time, Felix approached me, my co-founder, and said, hey, I have this idea.
How'd you guys know each other?
He was the boyfriend of a very close friend of mine.
Okay.
So it was a joint friend group, and a gathering somewhere, because it was COVID time, somewhere in a park, a couple of people. And he was like, yeah, I have this idea. Can we sit down for coffee and talk about it? Because you know a lot about sustainability and I don't. So it's about sustainability and I need your thoughts.
So he already knew that you are basically interested in the topic.
Yeah.
Are in this topic.
I did a couple of internships before that, always on the theme of sustainability. And so to say, I was the person in his friend group that he thought of approaching. And luckily, it's really lucky, because I talked to tons of people who had not that luck. It fit right away. So we have very complementary skills. And I don't know, after half an hour, I started talking in we instead of in you. So it was kind of obvious that this was really a good fit. Yeah. And then we started.
Felix.
That was rather spontaneous. It was exactly 4 years ago, actually.
4 years ago.
Yeah. So 2021, in the middle of a COVID semester.
We should, I don't know if this would be possible in the podcast, but we should insert a photo of Felix's mustache. Like, right? Like now, this would be great. Felix's mustache. This would be awesome. He has such a legendary mustache.
Yeah, that's
He's
very
so
true.
changing
tall,
over the
it's so
years.
funny. What?
I think it was also changing over the years.
For sure.
Yeah, he didn't have one.
No, he
Back
didn't.
then.
He was just a kid and now he's a man. Like he's a man with a mustache.
Well, no, we were, at that point in time, we were 21. So we were super young.
Crazy young.
And now?
Now we're 25.
Super young to not young at all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we are still young, but
Yeah, but it's different. You have
It's
40
really
years under your
different.
belt. I mean, I remember
So
for me
much
too.
experience.
I started with Sia when I was 21. So
Yeah.
I was also like a baby.
Insanity.
And now
Yeah.
I'm 26 and I'm like, oh my God, I made so many mistakes. What was I doing?
yeah, but it's also funny because you have this naivety in you,
Yeah.
and you just do things.
Totally.
And I think that's really a superpower, because
Yeah.
the older I got, the more I had imposter syndrome, actually.
Yeah.
And that's super weird, no? It's paradox.
Yeah, I feel like the more you know, the more you start to have the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, but you
because-
also evolve in different spaces, right? Because you start to spend time, you like have these random ideas, and then you can kind of be just like, well, if it just doesn't work, like whatever, like fake it till you make it. But then there's a point where you get traction. Now you guys have a team and you have more people, and people kind of know you for something, and then it's kind of like, oh, like wait, like now there's expectations. Like I need to deliver. Like I don't want to do that because I'm scared, you know what I mean? So I think probably also that's where the imposter syndrome comes from, because like actually like people expect you to have a certain knowledge or skill.
Yeah, and also I think the more you know that you never know enough. No, like the more you are in a space, there's this point where you realize, actually, everybody in German, you would say everybody cooks with water. So like, there is no insane experts knowing everything. It's not possible to know everything, and it's not the point of it, anyways. But still, you know that there's so much more complexity involved than you thought in the beginning. So I think it makes you more humble.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
I really want to go back to this point that you said that you were looking for a job at some point of time, and you couldn't find anything. Everything was like not fitting, right?
Yeah.
So, and then, okay, Felix comes up with this brilliant idea, and you're like, okay, let's do it. And how was this process unfolding for you? Like, you still decided to take sort of a risk of starting this project together, right? Without knowing like what is going to bring you, without having like security of employment and so on. What was it like for you at that time? And like, why did you go for it?
That's a very good question. I think the main or the core of the answer is authenticity. That if it feels authentic, if it feels like this is exactly what I should be doing, there's nothing better in the world that you could be doing. Because authenticity that you put out there in the world attracts attention, traction, interest. If what you're doing fits, then it will work in some way or the other. I really believe that. So it really felt that we should be doing this, that there is a need for this, that it needs young and constructive people going into this space and bridging the gap between the generations, between academics and entrepreneurship, between so many fields. There's just a lot of silos, and we need to break them in somehow to accelerate this transition in one way or the other. If it's by educating people, if it's by bringing together lots of different companies, or by advising them directly on how to do things. There's lots of services that we're offering at the moment because we just saw that there's a huge demand in bridging these gaps between the different departments, industries, science and entrepreneurship, and so on and so forth. So it really felt authentic. So I guess that's why I went with it.
But besides the impact that you saw and like your personal motivation, there is also a side, the more practical side of like making money, right? And having money for your life. Like you still had to take this risk and you had to believe that it will somehow work out, right? So you were stepping into the unknown basically, right?
Yeah.
Were you scared at that point?
No. Weirdly not. Looking back, I should have been probably.
21.
Like,
yeah,
you were still studying at the time, right?
Yeah, I was still studying. It was not that I'm
like a huge leap of faith where you're quitting your job. And
exactly. I really think doing this at a younger age is not such a big deal because you don't have so much to lose. No, you don't have a family to supply, wild rent to pay. I don't know. Yeah, so. It's definitely not so much to risk. I feel like
being a student in Austria, if you're coming from a relatively privileged background, it's like pretty prime to just start a project because it's kind of just going to be a side hustle and it's just for fun. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I think at that time, when I called my parents, I was like, I know what I will do now. I will start this thing. They were like, yeah, that's great. You will learn a lot. And just go with it. And I knew that I had their support. So this was, of course, a really privileged economically speaking, a really privileged situation. Because I think for them, it was like, yeah, this is really cool. If it will not work out, which I think they never doubted that it would in some way or the other, but they saw it also as a huge learning process. So
like just a good learning experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
And since you speak about your family, because, you know, we're speaking about Thinkubator, but it's kind of complicated, at least to me sometimes, what you guys do. Like if someone asks me like, hey, what is Thinkubator? Like, I'd be like, it's a bunch of cool stuff about circularity. But if you had to explain it to a family member, what you guys are doing, like how would you do that? How would you describe it?
Well, I always say it's research, education, and consulting on circular economy. And then they ask, what is circular economy? And I'm like, it's trying to prevent waste from happening. So giving products a longer lifetime by repairing, refurbishing, at the end of the day, at some point also recycling, by designing products in a better way so that they are actually refurbishable or repairable, that you can take them apart, the components, and do something with it. So it's about keeping products and materials in the loop as long as possible, because we have a huge waste problem, and it's economically speaking also a really wasteful process, the linear model of producing, using, and then disposing of it so fastly, because we will need to continue to import a lot of critical raw materials. So the EU has a huge incentive in creating a functioning secondary raw material market, since we continue to import most of really geopolitically difficult countries. So yeah, there's a huge risk involved in a linear economy as it keeps growing at the moment. So we still have a growing resource consumption. So year by year, more resources are being mined and taken out of the ground and put into products. Then we have growth of circularity. So percentage-wise, it's
still
shrinking.
Yeah.
It's actually shrinking.
And you mentioned a few different fields. So consulting would be you're working with companies, organizations, and consulting them on how to become more circular. Research would be...
we take, for example, the Austrian circular economy strategy, and we see what the challenges are they put in there. And for example, they put in there that financing is a huge problem, or logistics, reverse logistics, and so on. So we take this topic and we hand in a research grant, and then we assemble a consortium. We talk with a lot of stakeholders, do, participatory formats to find out where the actual problem is. And for the finance side, we did this, for example, we did a research project on financing circular business models. We talk with a lot of banks, with companies, with startups, with best practices, lots of different stakeholders. And at the end of the day, we assembled a risk engine, basically. So we developed a method on how to assess the risks associated with circular business models so that banks understand them better and are able to finance them, which doesn't happen yet so much. So that's what came out of one of our research projects, and we continue to develop it at the moment, the software. But yeah, it's a lot of different things.
And then the third one was...
Education.
There we go.
Education is what we started with, and it's still our core pillar. We always say it's 3 pillars because it makes it a bit easier to remember it's 3 pillars. Yeah. And in education, so we have school workshops, we have longer, so 2 to 3 year projects where we work with universities. We go into schools and we teach them about circular economy, be it plastics, be it bioeconomy. So we work with different universities on different topics, and we have experiments, hackathons. So it's a lot about the formats. So it's not only about the content, but the second big piece we're providing is innovative methods, participatory methods. And older people, we still also educate. So it's not only children, but we also have seminars for sustainability managers. We do Climate Launchpad, which is a startup competition. Lots of different target groups, because we believe that at the end of the day, the content can maybe be the same, but the methods vary, right?
Yeah.
And if you have this knowledge and you can give it to different people just by, adapting the methods, then we should also be doing it because of the impact it can create.
And then looking at what Thinkubator does, which you said like it involves many audiences and it's quite spread. What is a bigger shift or change that you are trying to achieve with your work?
At the end of the day, I think it's about appreciation of materials, of products, of people, because a lot of work is also involved in a production process, and we don't see that. So circular economy, you can say it's about understanding that if you throw this away, you could also repair it. You appreciate it, or you see what work went into it and what materials went into it. So
you're almost talking about a shift of consciousness.
Yeah,
like the
totally.
behavior change in a way.
Understanding that it's economically and ecologically better to engage in a circular economy as a consumer or as a company. But of course, this is not the case in every case yet.
Yes.
That's why it's sometimes difficult. But there's definitely examples where it makes both ecologically and economically speaking sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we always see in all of the work that is done towards more sustainable world, there is this huge gap between knowledge and action, right?
Yeah.
Like we know a lot, or people may hear it, or they may know that like it's bad to buy fast fashion, but then they fail to act upon it. Why is that so? Why is it so difficult for people to start acting right now and be better?
What do you think?
I think that is just something that, first of all, if we talk about fast fashion, right? It's so easy. It's like, it's right here in front of your eyes. You go to Zara or H&M, you buy a t-shirt and that's it, it's done. It's cheap. But when a piece is broken, you need to think, okay, I need to find a repair shop. Where do I repair it? I think like it means a lot more effort, time. You have to physically go there. You need to bring this clothes. You need to repair it and like then wear it again. So I think, yeah, effort. One of the reasons, for instance.
What do you think, Martin?
Yeah, I think effort, and then just the system isn't really set up for it. So from like a political standpoint, from an economic standpoint, we just like reward like waste and disposal, and it's just the easier solution for sure from the consumer standpoint, but also from the businesses. Like there's hasn't really been, I think, very good financial incentives from like governments or from other from like a systemic standpoint, right, for people to actually, like companies to build this in, for users to care about this. It's just like tougher. But that's my perspective. What do you think?
Well, there is already best practices doing
For
it,
sure.
right? So it's sometimes I'm asking myself, like, why is this not spreading? But then again, most people don't know about the best practices. So I don't know. It's a very emotional topic. So that is definitely a challenge, to not emotionalize it too much, but really talk about it in a rational way. This is just the better party. And it will be mid to long term. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, as you said, the system isn't set up for it. Felix used this in one of the slides that he showed me this week, where it was like judging a circular business model with the traditional financing methods.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Is like judging a fish on his ability to climb a tree. And I think that describes it really well, because it just doesn't work. If you pretend that the same rules apply, it's just not the case. And if we don't tax virgin material, doesn't work. In a lot of cases.
From your perspective, because you guys have kind of this unique standpoint where you're working with a lot of different actors. So, you know, there's a lot of more research focused actors, there's startups, there's also, you know, bigger companies and corporates and everything. Do you have a feeling on like where most of the change is coming from? Like sort of what is really driving that push at the moment right now, where that's coming from?
I think there is champions in every field. So there is pioneering companies that don't stop because some regulation gets delayed, that really push through with it because they know maybe either one of their biggest B2B clients or their, at the end of the day, their end consumers really care about it. There is the financial sector where you have a couple of banks really pioneering and going through with it. Others. So I think we are like in this innovation journey, we are still at this very beginning where there's the early adopters, and then
let's see what happens after.
Of
course.
But we do see that the startups definitely
are like the innovative.
Because it needs bravery, no? To change, you need bravery, and at the end of the day, it's about changing.
And it's just hard to change.
Being brave.
Do you like a lot of the bigger companies that are responsible for a lot of the products that we consume on a day-to-day basis, and also a lot of the things that would be turning into waste down the line? Do you guys at this stage right now, you know, this more early stage of the whole ecosystem, do you see them more as allies, or are they rather kind of detractors at this moment?
So I would say, for me, if I think about like how to categorize a company, I usually think about the person that I speak with there. So is the motivation serious. Like, does this person within the company want to change or not?
Yeah.
If the person has an authentic, again here, authenticity, if it's really like you can feel that there is something moving.
Like a desire.
Yeah.
Genuine desire.
Then I would say they're definitely allies because they have huge budgets that they can spend on R&D,
100%.
on innovation, on whatever you want to, in which pocket you want to put it. But sometimes it's fake, right? Sometimes it's like, okay, we invest in a marketing campaign, that's it. And you need to differentiate that and like find out where to put them. Sometimes it's not so easy because maybe the person is super motivated but doesn't have the power to change anything in the company anyways. So you might talk to an authentically motivated person being stuck in selling it internally.
That's,
So it's really tough to say. The bigger the tougher.
So it depends.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, what I asked the question because we've also been thinking about this a lot, kind of this relationship between big and small, and how does the small actor that's maybe a bit more lean, more flexible, actually like work with the big actor, and we're like really societally, right? Like when you're trying to change something in the world and try to like solve a problem, when big companies have so many resources, but they also sometimes are kind of like stuck in their ways and trying to just like maximize profit at the cost of also doing certain things maybe more responsibly or better. And then, the smaller actors maybe don't have the resources to do that, but like their values and their heart is in the right place. And I just find it so interesting with you guys because you're kind of like at the heart of the reactor somehow, like you're very much like in the middle of a lot of these different, people that are doing things, whether they're big or they're small. And I feel like your perspective there is just really, like, you kind of have like your foot on the, what's the expression?
On the ground?
No, it's like you
In
have
the
your
door?
finger on the pulse.
Ah.
Yeah. That's the one.
On the ground.
Foot on the ground.
door.
You have my foot on the ground. Love
Who
it.
knows what you
Yeah.
want to say?
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. I think talking with companies also outside of Austria is good because it gives you more context. So I was in Brussels 2 weeks ago. This was really interesting to see what's going on beyond Austria, so to say, or within Europe. What's going on?
Yeah.
What's the vibe?
And
Exactly.
is this now your full-time job?
Yeah. So we
Thinkubator?
are 3 people full time, and then 4 or 5 people part time.
And you guys have the full-time, you guys are have salaries. Like it's paying your bills.
Yeah. So the part time people have salaries. Yes.
Amazing.
Tell us more.
And how did it what was the process and the length that it took to go from just like an idea on the side of your studies towards, hey, we're actually going to do this full time? Did you finish actually your degree and then go into it? So it was sort of your first job after your degree?
After the degree, yes.
Yeah.
So as I said, I did internships before
of
and
course.
during my studies. So in the semester breaks and part time next to it and so on and so forth. But yeah, I would say the first 2 years were like this part time study.
Yeah.
Well, not project, but we were not fully invested.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
also
You had other things
economically,
to do.
and also we could not afford paying a
Yeah.
full-time salary
Yeah.
at that point. So it was not an option either.
Yeah.
So yeah, that took a while. And then 2 years ago, we received our first bigger grant, and that changed a lot because it opened doors. It just gave us more opportunities to scale and to use this to do other things also, right? To like, you have a different appearance.
For sure.
You have a trust stamp. Once you
People see
receive
you
the first
differently,
grant,
for sure.
it changes things. Yeah. So that really accelerated a lot. And then I would say since that we can like really nicely live of it, and it's like we can pay a team and so on. 1.5 years from now. So it took 2.5, 3 years to like, work for it voluntarily, or not voluntarily, but
On the side.
underpaid.
Yeah.
But that was it's funny because my dad, once I told him I know what I do now, we will start this, he was like, yeah, you will need 3 to 5 years until it's profitable. And I was like,
No.
Yeah, he was completely right. Well, this was never the ambition, but we wanted to live of it, right? So
I mean, that's the goal.
But still, I feel like a lot of people to whom we're also talking on the streets, because now we're recording a podcast, but before we were also like shooting some videos. And we were asking a question, can impactful venture be profitable? Can you build an impact and also make money? And there were different answers, of course, but most of the time it's a no. What is your stand on that? Like, what's your thinking?
You feel like you have to choose?
no, you don't have to choose. But I get it that this perception is out there because a lot of people don't know what social entrepreneurship is. They think it's NGOs, right? Or most of the time they're like, so
you do good,
NGOs.
but entrepreneurship? Oh yeah, NGO.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
And
it's still a very small
NGO
bubble.
world.
Yeah, very small bubble. But at the end of the day, so what also happens in this space is that the people prioritize the impact over the income because they're so focused on generating most of the impact. And that, of course, makes it difficult to earn money if you're not having both of them on equal priority. So it's difficult.
And the other thing too is a lot of the people who also focus on the impact, they might not be as open to the business perspective and like the business side of what they do. So for example, you went to business school, you know, you kind of had different internships and stuff, and Felix was like in finance, like he had his whole, oh my God, what the hell am I doing here? And like his whole sort of mindset shift towards like, I need to do something meaningful for this planet instead of trying to destroy it. But it's still, there's some kind of perspective that still goes in the direction of like, we need to figure out how to like business model this, like how to actually like finance this.
Yeah.
And you're totally right. I think like a lot of the people who go into it with this very impact focused perspective, they kind of forego that. And then at some point it bites them in the ass because you actually need the money to like be sustainable, like over time.
Exactly.
If you want it to scale.
Yeah. Yeah. So it has many facets to it, but I think you also need good cases to show, no? It's again best practices.
Course. Otherwise, who wants to do anything for?
And if nobody knows what a good social entrepreneur is, like you need a really clear signaling or a messaging, then people will remember. But I think for now they just put it in the box of NGOs.
And when did you guys get in touch with SIA?
We participated in 2022.
Okay.
So 1 year after we founded, we participated in both Climate Launchpad and Social Impact Award.
And how did you find out about it? Like, what was the appeal?
I knew Steffi.
Who was the program coordinator at the time?
Because she did these weekends, right?
Okay.
And there was one of these weekends at the VU, and I joined like way before Thinkubator.
Weekends, you mean?
I don't know.
Yeah,
it was like a workshop.
Impact weekends. It was like 2-day immersive. You would go for a weekend. You would just try yourself out as
sort of like a hackathon.
yeah, basically, but like a little different, right? Because hackathon is like literally nonstop most of the time, and it's really about like you have to build a prototype for something. But this one was more focused. It's like even earlier stage. It was like, all right, like what is an idea for a venture? Like how do you come up with a good problem? Like let's go through it, and then at the end, ideally, you have a problem idea and something to kind of validate it. Yeah. But yeah, so that's I guess what you guys went through, right?
Yeah, I went there on my own, and I think it was a year before Thinkubator, so really back in the day. Because I think it came because I had this entrepreneurship and innovation specialization, and there was Peter Vandor talking about it. And
who
then
is the founder of SIA.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I somehow ended up following SIA, I guess, on some of the social medias, and then I joined one of these workshops. I was only there like one afternoon, I think.
Because you were like, this blows. No,
I think I didn't perceive it as like a 2-day thing to attend, but as Saturday morning it's this, Saturday afternoon it's this, and I thought, this sounds interesting, and I wanted to do this, and then I eventually, I don't know if I joined the second part of it. Could be, I don't remember. I just remember that Steffi was there and I really connected with her. And then I came in October to the finalist announcement thing. And then I said, oh wow, next year I definitely will go there again. And I did. And then we were like, we could apply. But we didn't really think about it because it was ecological sustainability focus. And we didn't really know.
Think that it would be
exactly.
Because it's called Social Impact Award.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh wow. Interesting. That's cool.
But was it like was it presented more like ecological rather than social? Like
no,
why?
other way around.
The other way around.
Yeah.
So we didn't think we were fitting. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So we were really surprised when we got in, actually.
Cool. I mean,
What a
good thing you applied.
coincidence.
Good thing you applied because it
Yeah,
paid
yeah.
off.
No, it
Let
was
this
great.
be a disclaimer for the world that any project that is impact focused can apply to SIA, not just the social ones.
Yes.
Yeah, but eventually we were then in both programs in Climate Launchpad, which is focused on climate entrepreneurship, and in Social Impact Award. So we did both at the same time or in the same year. And now we are hosting Climate Launchpad, which is funny.
Yeah, word.
Super
I was
great.
gonna say, very
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how these programs essentially helped you at that point to develop, to start, to launch?
Before we started recording, I told you that this weekend I also spent like in an accelerator setting. And I think for all these programs, if it's incubators or later stage, so to say, accelerators, it's always the team building. For me, it's the most valuable thing because you spend a lot of time and a lot of informal time with your co-founders, with your team. And this is something you don't really take the time for in a daily setting because you're just so focused on operational stuff. So you're doing and delivering and making sure every deadline is met and so on. And you don't take the time to just, I don't know, sit down, drink a beer, take a walk, whatever. You do that eventually, but not like in that weekend setting where you go somewhere else, you spend the night in the same room. It's just really a different thing to take the time to really do that and to bond and have a
So more that kind of community aspect then.
totally. Also with the other startups, of course, with your team and with the cohort.
Are you still friends with some of the people from the program? Or maybe not friends, but kind of like
in contact? Yes, definitely.
like support each other and stuff?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Also, if the venture didn't survive, the person is now somewhere else.
Yeah. Because most of the people who go through the program end up still staying in some kind of purpose-oriented, impact-oriented career path.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what we've noticed.
Yeah.
Because that's also one of the things with Social Impact Award now. Like we've been trying to push actually the program in a space where it's much more active citizenship focused and much more like about just building the skills and competencies that you would need to take on any project like that can be impact focused for yourself and have kind of a career with purpose. Because we see that a lot of the people who do come in, they're so early stage that they might be like in love with a problem or an idea, and then they're like, oh, I just want to throw this in the window after like 6 months, like this is not working. But then usually they don't decide to go work for like an oil and gas company, right?
Yep.
Like usually they decide to stay in some kind of a thing because it's almost like a mindset shift that happens in that environment where it's like, oh, actually these are nice people here, and like there's a focus on like doing good, and like I like that, but we can also make money from this. Like I also like that.
Yeah. And as soon as you notice all of the problems that there are in this world,
then it's hard not to care about them. Either you're so overwhelmed that it's like, oh god, I gotta doom scroll on Instagram, or this
can also happen that you're just like, no, if I will go down this road, then it will burn me out, and you decide actively against it. But I think most of the time it's just creates an awareness that you can't negate anymore.
And why do you do this then? Like, because I mean it is hard work, so like why do you still
I think I was asked this last weekend as well.
Oh,
like,
yeah?
What drives you?
Why are you doing this to yourself?
And I think for me, what really gives me a lot of energy is if I can motivate or inspire another person that sustainability is the way to go. And it's a lot about inspiring, but also about motivating. And I do this by, I don't know, talking about best practices, by showing all of the data behind it, by talking about cool companies you can consume their products of. So a lot of different angles to this. But at the end of the day, what really motivates me, if I see that I created an awareness inside of a person's head that really did something. So of course it's hard to track.
Totally.
You can track how many people you educated or you talk to, but you don't know what the actual impact will be. That's also the thing about impact, no? You can measure it. You can measure the output or the outcome, but the impact, it's a bit tricky to measure that. But yeah.
And talking about impact, very often you talk about gender equality or better equity. And it's also known that women are more likely or like more often start projects, ventures, or get involved in projects with impact than men. And could you explain a little bit like why is it so, where this data is coming from?
Let's ask the man at the table. Why do you think not as many men as women go into impact entrepreneurship?
I mean, I can only regurgitate what I've heard you talk about, having listened astutely to all your great keynotes. No, I think that at least my perspective on it, is that there are a set of skills that you find more tangentially in women than men that are typically more used in social entrepreneurship. And it's not just skills, I think it's also like traits. And one of those, I think just generally the kind of focus on work that has compassion, that has like empathy, that has care in it, usually is quite an attractive component, more so to women than to men, at least from what I've seen. And then I think also there's a lot of misconceptions about the field that also tend to create, I think, a bit of a echo chamber where only a certain group of people feel like, oh yeah, this is for me, rather than another group of people. One thing that I noticed, and actually I was talking to someone who's also working in this field recently about kind of the political context of what we do, in that a lot of, I think, still our bubble of social entrepreneurship and, you know, all this activistic work, it tends to be like very left-leaning politically. And I think a lot of the also dynamics that we find ourselves in with, you know, these misconceptions that I just talked about like making money and like being, you know, more profit oriented rather than impact oriented, or more competitive and having more of a competitive drive, I think are things that systemically men don't really get taught so much to, like, they tend more to value these kinds of things, like this competitive drive, having to be better than other people, rather than collaboration and, you know, equity and like a lot of these other kind of dynamics. But that's just kind of my perspective. I don't know. Do you disagree with anything that I just said?
No.
Cool.
I think it's really interesting because there's a couple of more facets to it that you brought up. Maybe adding two things to that. So on the one hand side, not everybody is equally affected by the problems we have, right? So
yeah, true.
Women, children, you name it. There's groups in our society that are way more affected by climate change and by inequality than others. So you have, so to say, a stronger effect, or maybe you feel it more. You're more aware of the problems that we have because you're disproportionately affected by them. So if you think about heat waves, who's affected by heat wave most? It's old women that have most effects. There's lots of examples, but the second one is the second topic that I want to touch upon is that we lack a lot of data. So there's a huge gender data gap. So we don't really know why more women go into social entrepreneurship than men. We have clues and we think it's connected to, of course. And we know that it's about values, traits, skills that you said. These all come from our socialization and how we grow up and what we get taught and so on and so forth. An answer, I think this was at the CS Summit.
I
don't remember that one person said because women are used to do the cleanup. I had to laugh a lot. That was really funny.
Yeah.
But so women are really good at solving problems, right? That are super complex because they do it on a constant basis because they have to do so many things that are just thrown in their direction. Yeah. But never mind. So what I wanted to say with that is we lack a lot of data. We know that that this is a challenge to be solved. But when you think about mobility, you know that a lot of public transport users are women. But why is that the case? It comes from an economic reasoning, right? Because men tend to have higher salaries, tend to have cars, tend to have a simple way of going from your home to the office and then back. And what do women do? They like visit 7 different places during the day because of all the things that they need to take care of next to their jobs, being care work, being whatever. So it's a lot more complex, but also a lot more, so to say, public mobility that they're using. And this is a very interesting thing that you can start diving into. There's sometimes gender segregated data, for example, of Paris, we know that. In Vienna, it's really well equity.
There's pretty good equity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Within mobility. Yeah, and public transport users.
Sure.
But it's interesting to look at it. Like, what do we know of gender segregated data? Where do we have that and where do we not? But we certainly know that women are more affected by it. And we also know that within social entrepreneurship, for example, or within entrepreneurship, 2 of 3 women that found a company do an impact company. And this number is fascinating to me.
It's crazy.
I don't know, it's crazy. And for men, then it's not because you have a lot of entrepreneurs or more male entrepreneurs than women. I think in Austria, it's around, 20% or so. Changed a little bit, so don't quote me on that. And the impact space is, I would say, 50-50 balanced.
More balanced out.
Yeah.
I actually also heard about data that like also all the like pharmacy and pills, most of the tests are conducted on men.
Yeah.
So if you take a painkiller, it will basically act different on men and
that was
women.
one of your pieces of data, no?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Maybe
also
that's
male
where I
mice
heard.
that they tested on. So it already starts there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Moving to the humans
some
if
of
it gets
those data
there.
points are just kind of biased already.
Yeah, totally.
Or also, I'm always wondering why contraception pills are only for women.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But in your kind of general experience, because, you know, as a social entrepreneur who is a woman, you're also quite active in like being vocal about like this topic, right? And I mean, you gave a great keynote about this topic at the CS Summit last year. So there's obviously a personal kind of interest there too. So like, why did you feel encouraged to like speak up about this? Like, what's the motivation there?
I think it started because I grew up with a single mom and I grew up with 3 older brothers. So I grew up like always being vocal because that's what
kind of
was my survival strategy. Having 3 older brothers, but also this like this role model of the single mom was really paying into this. But so I generally always was a more vocal person than not. So I was always more on the extrovert side. But about this topic, what I noticed a couple months into the space was that men, also in the social entrepreneurship space, they tend to network more or be more, not with Felix and me, this is not where I sort of say notice this, but within the ecosystem. I noticed that a lot of men know a lot of the other men. And why is that? Because you run into a networking event and there's just overwhelmingly many men and not many women. So there is really not a balance. Sometimes in the Impact Hub it's different, but outside of the Impact Hub or the Climate Lab, there's just, it's not balanced out.
Like those spaces that are more, let's say, social entrepreneurial.
Yeah, but then at some point you walk out into the real world or into outside of the bubble and it's really male dominated. And also the age is way higher, right?
Yeah.
So you go there as a founder or as me, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't fit here. There's just a lot of old
like
men.
a young woman and there's
Yeah.
only old men. Yeah.
And then also, they just sometimes behave in a not really encouraging way, because it happened several times that somebody calls me up after a networking event that I gave my card to because we talked about business. And the person doesn't even remember what I'm doing. He just wanted to go for a coffee. And it's just, it sucks. Nothing sucks more than in a professional context being reduced to being a woman, because that's exactly what you don't want to happen. You want them to remember your contents, what you're talking about, what you stand for, what you work for.
Of course.
And if this happens once, twice, 3 times, you're like, okay, fuck that shit, I'm not going to go again. So what happens? More men, and it's a spiral. It's just very male-dominated spaces.
Like to itself.
Men know a lot of men. Networks develop, and networks are key to develop and grow a business. It's just a key aspect of it. You need people to trust you. You need people to encourage and to spread the word to support you.
Yeah.
So I saw that this is a really unequal dynamic, and it's really unfair because it generates a disadvantage, which is super annoying.
Yeah.
So last year, Kata from Manicare and me, we started a female founders group, female impact founders group. So we just meet within this group, and it's crazy how many people don't know each other. You're like, you're working on the same topic and you don't know each other. It's such a shame. So basically strengthening networks and encouraging women to, it sounds so stupid, but to talk about it with each other, how many times it happens to you that somebody behaves in an inappropriate way. I don't know, texts you and starts flirting to you on LinkedIn. It's just, it sucks. But if you talk about it and you know that it's not only you, you notice that it's not you behaving in a wrong way, but it needs people to speak up about it. And I don't know, for others to notice, hey, I'm not alone. It wasn't me behaving wrong. Because that's what women do, no? Asking themselves, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, sure.
What could I have done differently for this to not happen? And that's just fucked up.
And do you have any piece of advice for young women that might be interested in getting into this field, but not necessarily this field, but that might be interested in, building an initiative or something that might feel a little bit like daunted by the fact that it's not so female dominated?
Yeah, that there is still like gender bias basically, even though a social entrepreneurship field is more equalized in terms of numbers, right? Male and female, it still has this bias.
Yeah, that's true. I think, of course, it takes more energy. It will always take more energy to try to change things than to just go with the flow. But if you have a theme or a topic that you're passionate about, or problem, that's a privilege, because a lot of people don't know what they're passionate about. So if you know what you're passionate about, you should really do something with it, because there's nothing better to turn the passion into your job, I think. So if there is a problem or a space or a theme that you can imagine yourself working for 10 years, then you should definitely think about doing something yourself, I think. Or joining an organization, changing things, because then you have more motivation and also authenticity, coming back to that again. Then you really want to do this. There's nothing better to do it. And what I also ask every doubting woman, would you do it, or would you do it differently if you were a man? The answer is always yes. It has not happened to me a single time that the answer was no. And that is sad, but it's a good reality check.
Yeah, exactly.
So kind of remind you, like, wait,
Yep.
I have the power here.
Exactly.
That's awesome. I think that's a really good transition to our closing, which we always try to close it with a little bit of a different take, something that's maybe a bit more fun, a bit more punchy. So we would go and ask you a few truth or false, more rapid fire style. If you want to explain yourself, of course you can. Context is always welcome, but not necessary. And then we'll have one last question that's a bit more reflective.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yep.
You want to kick us off?
Sure. So, true or false? To work on a climate change, you need to be a scientist or engineer.
False.
Most people know exactly what they want to do when they start.
Wrong.
You have to be confident all the time to start something new.
Wrong.
One person can make a difference.
True.
You can't mix business and activism.
Wrong.
How so?
If it's the same topic, then it definitely works. It would be a bit weird if it's completely different topics. Then I wouldn't mix it necessarily. Mm-hmm. Some people mix private and business.
Yeah.
Some people mix activism and business. But yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You don't really have 80 hours a day
of course.
to do things. So most of the time, I think, as soon as you commit to founding, maybe you're
a founder.
Yeah.
It's hard to do both. And do you have a hot take on social entrepreneurship? An unpopular opinion?
An unpopular opinion or a hot take? I think, so coming back to the passion aspect of it, a lot of social entrepreneurs, I would say, are more prone to burnout, right? And the world does definitely not need more people that are burned out. So I really think that if you notice that it's too much, or that maybe the target group you're working with does really draw a lot of energy from you, then it's completely fine to do something else. Like, you don't need to do this all of your life if you notice that it draws more energy than it gives you. So I've seen that sometimes, and yeah, it's just really, really sad when you see it. But it's a good lesson to say, hey, burnout or more burned out people will not save our world. But what saves our world is people loving what they do. And that's, I think we need more people loving what they do.
Bar.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, that's
cool.
A closer. We can close it there, I think. Awesome.
Thank you so much. It was a great conversation.
Thank you so much, Alex. Always.
Thank you for inviting me.
For sure.
The number one reason why startups fail, or one of the top reasons, is the team. That the team would crash. And we said, okay, we do a crash test for that. And we decided to do a very spontaneous trip to Brussels, was it? 36 hours without any accommodation or nothing. So pressure on the highest level. And we said, okay, if we go out of this, still friends, still able to talk to each other, then, okay, we say we can do this together. And that's what we did.